From the shores of Malibu where the waves are pumping, to the Great Wall of China, and back to the streets of Las Vegas where the UFC is coming. We are live. This is It's Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about but are afraid to voice. Do not worry, we will voice it for you. We talk about it all: sex, drugs, rock and roll, UFC, entertainment, politics, TV. We've got it. You've got it. You know it. We'll talk about it. And I'm here today with my co-host, TJ DeSantis. TJ, how are you?
I'm good, Buff. How are you?
I'm really good and really good. Excited for our guest, a man I've known for, gosh, I want to say probably over 20 years. I've announced every one of his fights in the UFC. He is the former UFC lightweight champion. Let's bring on the Hall of Famer, the new UFC Hall of Famer, Jens Lil Evil Pulver.
What's up? How you doing?
Jens, how are you?
I'm golden. How are you doing?
I'm golden too. I'm golden.
Yeah.
We're both in red, but I'm golden. It's all
I got
good.
it. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. It's the feeling. I got that gold feeling. You know what I mean? We're both in red. Hey.
Is that like I got this love and feeling? Well, that's golden.
Oh,
feeling.
don't
That's
get me singing, but I can get it. Oh, that, you know. Hey, yeah. By the way, that second one, I like that. That new movie, the new Top Gun with them.
Oh,
with the old school. I love that one.
Yeah, I always get worried when they do new takes or sequels to movies that are like legendary and iconic. I actually think that the second Top Gun might be better than the first in some ways.
In some ways, maybe a little more. Well, actually, they're both character driven. But I'll tell you one thing: the last 20 minutes of that film, you're on the edge of your seat.
Oh my God!
Oh, so it is something to see. And that's the thing, I think. But it's really cool because you kind of have to see the first one to really appreciate the second one. So even if you're not watching the second one, like, I got to go back and see the first one. I got to go find it. You know what I mean? And go watch the first one.
100%.
Yeah, but yet, when they do sequels like that, whether it's like, a difficult sequel maybe to follow would be, even though it's all shoot 'em up and beat 'em up, is like John Wick 4, wondering, should I have seen John Wick 1? But they did such a good job on Maverick that the younger audience, which didn't see the original film as a rule, your 18 to 25-year-olds, I think it allowed them to enjoy the film, getting a feeling for what was up.
I'm happy we're talking about films right now because I have an IMDb page that I am on. And the first entry, the only reason I ever had an IMDb page is because my fat ass in a Minnesota Twins cap is holding a microphone at a scrum that ended up in Jens Pulver's Driven documentary. And they ended up putting my name on there. Jens, have you done, I mean, obviously the documentary, but have you done much acting?
Not too much. I've done, I got to be, not really. No, I haven't, I would love to get the opportunity, but no, I never, ironically, as much as I love being in front of a camera, as much as I love talking and stuff, I figured, but nope, this maybe because I live in Iowa, it could be location. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't really dive in too much. I haven't, not too often.
I told you the story about Mark Coleman, didn't I, TJ?
I don't think so.
I got a call back in the days. Remember the movie Gladiator?
Yeah.
Okay. The director of Gladiator, one of the finest directors, around, the whole 9 yards. I got a call from his office. They were casting Gladiator.
Okay.
Right? And Ridley Scott was the director of Gladiator, which is just an amazing director. And so they wanted Mark Coleman for one of the Gladiator roles. Right. Okay. And I called up Mark, and he was in his gym working out, preparing for a fight or whatever the case may be. He goes, "No, Buff, I got to concentrate on my training and this, that, and the other." Then the movie comes out to be one of the finest films ever made.
Right.
One of the biggest box office hits ever done. And to this day, he still every time he sees me, pretty much, he just regrets the fact that he didn't go in. And you can imagine Mark Coleman in his prime, how he would have looked in Gladiator. What he would have played, the role of the big, the blonde guy that, sided himself with Russell Crowe the whole bit. But anyway, it's a fork in the road routine, guys. You either go right or you go left.
You got to say yes more often than not. Dean Thomas is a guy that a lot of people know in the MMA space, and he said that he's like MMA's yes man. He just says yes to pretty much everything that he can physically do, and more often than not, it opens doors. You just got to say yes.
Exactly.
I'm a yes everywhere. I'll say I got no problem, especially in front of a camera. Yes, but talk. Yeah, talk. Let's go.
It's obvious you say yes, Jens. I mean, you fought as a flyweight, you fought as a bantamweight, you fought as a featherweight, you fought as a lightweight. You became the lightweight champion. You were a head coach on the Ultimate Fighter 5 series. You've been in Pride, on and on and on. I mean, when have you? I've seen you box. It's like,
yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think I announced your boxing event that Dan Lambert put on down in Florida.
Yeah, there was a couple. Yeah, there was a few that I've done. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
been around, and that's it. I mean, in the time, especially back when we were first starting, man, it's like, why not? I wanted to do everything. I'll fight. Yeah, I'll do this. I'll do it. The world opened up, like TJ said, and I just taking advantage of it. It's like, sure, I'll dive in, but I've never, ironically, almost got to do a Rambo. At least I got to try out for it. I had to be a part of that, and and that was it. But yeah, I've never much like I said, on the movie side of things. I always thought maybe because it's like I said, I live in Iowa. Maybe might have been the reason. If I could have been maybe West Coast, it'd have been different. But
you just mentioned another thing. I'm going to tell you another story from my past. My dad was a screenwriter and a book writer.
Was he really?
Yeah. And he
he
ran Fortune 500 companies, but he was an accomplished short story writer for men's magazines like Argosy and Playboy and other things back in the late 50s. And then when we moved out to Malibu, he stopped his job as vice president of a Fortune 500 company to quit and write and, do what he had true passion for. Kind of like me, when I sold my 2 companies to take over the management of Michael, I learned my entrepreneurial spirit from my dad. So he was he really loved a book called Rambo, and he introduced it to the people named Buzz Feinhans, the producer, was one of the original producers on Rambo, and he wanted to write the script.
Wow.
And Rambo was tossed around Hollywood for a long time. People were trying to find the guy to play the Stallone character. Stallone wound up writing the script, of course, if I remember correctly. So it's amazing how these Hollywood things change and shift and shuffle, if I've told that story correct.
Good story.
I like it. That is
brief story. That's for sure. All right, let's get on the story. Jens, you have said yes to many things. And of course, you said yes to the Hall of Fame. How does it feel to be a Hall of Famer in the UFC?
It's wild. It hasn't really sunk in. And it goes back to, it's funny about the yes part. Here's what I was saying no to that. Where are they now? And like for a few years, they kept asking, hey, we want to do this. Where are they now? And I'm like, no. And like, what? I go, I don't want to do it. And like, wow, I don't like where I'm at in life. I go, I don't like where I'm at. And they're like, okay. And so this is kind of how I got set up. I got set up on this one a little bit. I didn't realize this was happening, but they had called again. They said, hey, we want to do this. Where are they now? And I'm thinking, man, you know what? All right. This time it was weird. I go, this time I was like, yes, I'll do it. I like where I'm at. I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm at in life. I'm loving doing the UFC stream. I'm watching fights. I really like where I'm at in my world. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And so that set up this whole surprise that they knew that I was going to get inducted. I think we were in, they were in Australia at the time. So I was set up, and when I was doing the watch along, they go, I had guests and everything like that. It's like, all right, we need you to do a full screen really quick because they're going to kind of introduce it. They're doing this. Where are they now? So I went full screen when the pay-per-view started, and you, of course, were in there doing it. And I was like, all right, this is cool. And then they showed, they showed who was it that just got inducted. I think right before that was Jose Aldo, I believe.
Yep.
And so they showed Jose Aldo. I'm like, ooh, cool. And then all of a sudden I hear Anik, and I started with the eyes, and I was like, wait a second, and he said, it is time for immortality, his wait for immortality has come, and boom. And then I look over because my son, a little side note, my wife had just texted and said, hey, your son's got to do a project. He's supposed to kind of film you at work. And I was like, all right, cool. Because we already did an interview a week before about stuff. So he's watching me, and I look over and I look at him, and he doesn't know what's going on. And I was stunned. I didn't know what to think. It was the coolest thing in the world. So now I got my son standing right there. I'm in Australia, all over the monitors, right? All over the big monitors, and I'm teary-eyed, just waving. It was really cool. It was something. It was something.
And might I say, this is
your life, I'm sure.
Might I say, this is a long time coming too for Jens, because when the UFC Hall of Fame first came out, the hardcores were calling for Jens to be one of the first guys inducted. So when it finally came, to steal a line from Robbie Lawler, when it finally came, it came hard, because it came hard for emotions for Jens, and I think hardcores like myself as well, because I found out a couple days before Jens found out, because we were going to do an extra rounds interview, And like, man, I was overwhelmed with emotions for you, Jens, because I mean, you're that guy. You're like Mr. UFC in a lot of ways, especially for the lighter weight fighters. And man, I can't wait. It's just a few weeks away until it's finally official.
I know.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, no matter how you look at it, Jens, you're like old school to new school, you know?
Yep, 100%.
Definitely
VHS to
old school, new
Blu-ray.
school.
Well, that was the thing, is we were
I
watching.
like that, actually. That's
Yeah,
good.
VHS to Blu-ray was pretty much my career, you know. So it's been around. And that was like what we were just talking about. One of the things is like I realized, speaking of old schools, we started on, because I do the UFC stream on Twitch. So we're always doing stuff for and we're going through Fight Pass. We went through the first fights. And, you know, I mean, I think we went from 1 to 22, and just to see when you popped in on the scene, like a Joe Rogan was behind, like, I don't think people truly understood and appreciated just how long ago, like when, you know, you were on the scene, and then with Joe Rogan, especially, even I was caught off guard. I was like, Joe Rogan was really here from like UFC 4 doing like the locker room interviews or something like that.
Actually, I started at UFC 8 doing the prelims, and Joe came on about a year or two later, year and a half later.
Okay.
Give or take. But, you know, it's definitely it's 27 and a half years almost for me now.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy,
wild.
crazy time. You know, you've seen like the evolutionary process of the UFC. As I always like to say, it's gone from spectacle to sport. You've seen the negotiations that happen with different fighters, including the negotiations that you've been involved in yourself. Now, one of the biggest negotiations that has come to an end, and is now finally, after months of losing potential relevancy, Francis Ngannou signed with the PFL.
Yeah.
Okay. Jake Paul's with the PFL, and Ngannou's with the PFL. God knows what they gave him, but supposedly he put in his contract that he wants to guarantee $2 million to anybody that fights him, which is I've never seen that done by anybody, except for maybe Tom Brady giving up $5 or $10 million to his contract to give the Patriots more money for the draft. If you remember that story some years ago.
Yeah.
It's quite a move. And I was wondering if Francis Ngannou was ever going to get signed again. So how do you feel about this, Jens? I told Francis on the show when the UFC supposedly offered him $8+ million, I'm sure pay-per-view points, whatever. Again, this is written in the news. I am not privy to this internal negotiations that go on with the UFC. Do you think he should have left the UFC?
Well, I think everybody's got to do, they got to do it, I guess, what makes them happy. You know what I mean? They got to do what puts a smile on their face at the end of the day, right? I think anybody would tell you that. I mean, you got to do what you need to do. And if you don't feel like, you know, if you feel like you can go elsewhere, if you feel like you want to go into boxing, or I think that was one of the biggest things, was everybody wanted to figure out is like, how much, you know, is he going to go into the boxing realm? People were looking to do that. And boxing money's always been massive money. Then you started getting, you know, you brought up that Jake Paul and stuff like that. And you got these fighters fighting for millions, you know, just doing, these are YouTubers, and they're fighting for these big checks and stuff like that. So now, obviously, you get to a point like that where you're considered the baddest man on the planet, obviously, especially when you're the UFC heavyweight champion. And, you know, that's one of those things that people want to know. Like, I don't, you know, you do what you think. Again, at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't always mean it's going to be the best for the company you were with or anything like that. But also at the same time, it's also a risk. I think that's the one thing about with this sport. You can always go out there, right? No matter what you do in life. I'm going to go out on my own. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. So, you know, I mean, but the way he did it, and then you go with this kind of signing. This is pretty odd. I mean, this is definitely something. Now you've got everybody wanting to fight you just because they're guaranteed $2 million. This is unprecedented, I think, in a lot of ways.
And then you wonder, what is Francis getting? You know, if his opponent's getting $2 million, you got to assume that he's getting a good chunk, you know, more than $2 million. And then on top of that, like, I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, pee on the parade, but I wonder, you know, is this a financial move that makes sense for them? It's a lot of money. You know, you win a tournament, you get $1 million. Now, if you just fight Francis Ngannou, you get $2 million. That doesn't make sense.
I'll tell you one thing that benefits in the 6 degrees of separation. We all know that term, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know who the major sponsor of the PFL is?
Puncher's Chance.
Puncher's Chance.
Yeah.
That's my bourbon, Jens. I'm sure
I
you've heard
know it
about
is. I know it is. I love it.
So maybe you're the one that's paying Francis Ngannou's opponents $2 million, Buff.
I don't know, but I hope they don't raise the price on us for the for the renewal.
Hey, Jens, I don't want to get too personal in your career, but you're one of the fighters that, had fought inside of the UFC, had contract dispute, left the UFC. How much was that actually you dealing with the UFC, or were you relying on your manager at the time to do most of those conversations? Because it was the Wild West then. I mean, the UFC was still a very much a niche and fringe sport.
No, it was yeah, I tried to stay out of it. I was just trying to stay out of it. And I tried to do the obviously there's personal involved when you know everybody.
Right.
And so I was trying to stay out of the personal because I'm listening to my manager, which is all right, this is business. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just sit here and you just tell me what we're gonna do. You just tell me what we're doing. And so I just let the powers that be. The only thing I wanted, like I said, personally, I was like, man, I just, I wanted to be the highest paid lightweight in my division. And that was kind of my goal. And obviously I wanted to be the champ. Of course I wanted to stay the champ. I love being the champion, but I really had to do the delegate in that aspect. It was like, all right, this is what you do. You're the manager. This is what you want to do. I'm going to trust you, but man, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You know what I mean? But okay. And that's kind of, I don't know how, man, I think about it a lot. I try not to think about it too much because it would just probably punish me, over and over and over. But I did think about it a lot at a time. And, nobody ever beat me for my belt. And that still makes me, that makes me sick to my stomach in a lot of ways because no one ever beat me for that belt. But at the same token, that's the game. I mean, I had a manager for a reason. And, because I was close to my manager, and it was like, I love Dana. I loved the UFC, but there was one person above them, which is this guy let me live in his house. I came all the way out. Yeah, it was Monty. I came all the way out to Iowa just to, to be with him. And so I was just, all right, if this is what you think is best, then this is what we'll do. And so I just kind of rolled with it like everything else. But, it was, I hated it. I hated every single second of it because I was like, why couldn't I just be worth it? I guess, and that's where the fighter will get into it is I didn't think I was overvaluing myself. And I don't think, you know what I mean? And it was just, and it just makes you wonder. It's funny. I've never, ever said this, but this is, you asked it. So I guess ultimately that's what was going through my head was, well, why am I not worth it?
Right.
And that's kind of was the question. Why am I not worth it? And then, like I said, when I had to leave, it was whatever. Whatever.
I hate to say it though, in a roundabout way, I think it was good because I like your career outside of the UFC. Like what you did in Pride was amazing. When you came back to the Ultimate Fighter and then ushered in a new era with the WEC, who knows if it works out that way? And I think MMA history is better for ultimately that fork in the road that made you turn, right instead of left,
I'll tell you what, I've never ever said this. I got a lump in my throat right now. All right, hold on. I've never said this. Dang, see, how y'all get me to say, all right, you two, only because it's Buffer in here. All right. I've never, ever said this. But so one of the things though, after losing that belt and while going to Pride and fighting at 160, and it's like, I'm trying not to cuss, so I try to keep.
Oh, you can. Okay. You're good.
Well, there was basically think about it like this: I did everything I was supposed to do. I beat everybody when I was UFC World Champion. I wasn't supposed to beat BJ. I beat everybody.
Right.
I was number one pound. I was the best on the planet, and all I did somehow, and now all of a sudden I lost my belt because the business side of things got in the way, and I lost my belt. I was done. I fuck this. I'm just gonna fight. I'm either gonna knock people out or people are gonna knock me out. But I'm just gonna fight. I'm just fighting. I don't care anymore. I tried to be calculated. I tried to do, be skillful, beat everybody. I tried to go out there, and defend my belt, beat the ones that I shouldn't beat. And look at what it got me.
Right.
Nothing. I still lost the belt. So I was just at that point, like, I'll just fight, whatever. I'm just fighting. But there was a part of me that that never came back after that. And even later on, being able to come back, at that point, I was just fighting because I lost everything that was, the most important thing to me. I lost my world title. And that just changed something in me where it's like, that's it. Because, you get booed because you're not taking enough risks, or back then, especially, you're being booed because you're not just standing up trying to slug it out. And I'm like, all right, that's what you all want to see. That's what's going to make me exciting, because I tried to be the best on the planet and that didn't give me any value. So now I'll just go out there and just try to knock the shit out of everybody. And if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. But at least I'll be known as the guy that just goes out there and just leaves it all in the cage, skillless or skillful. It doesn't matter. I'll just go out there and fight because I did everything the right way. And look at what happened. I got destroyed.
Let me ask you this.
Once again, there's a very, very, I love the way you put all that, Jens. You're talking from the heart. You're talking so realistic. Yeah, I love that. I've always loved that about you.
Let me ask this real quick, Bruce. Do you feel like this Hall of Fame nod gives you back something that you lost?
Well, you're really hitting this thing, ain't you? Damn you too. I'll tell you what. No, I truly believed that I was never getting into the Hall of Fame. I was never getting in the Hall of Fame. I didn't think, because of the way my career ended, because of the way I fought, I didn't know if I figured the pioneer side may not even be remembered, and that was something that, it was literally 2 hours before I got inducted. Someone asked me, "Hey, Jens Pulver Hall of Fame." I go, "Nah, I'm not happening." I go, I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. And I was okay with that. I accepted it. But for the longest time, I just, people are always, like, you just think if your past is going to come up and haunt you, if it's going to bite you in the ass, or what is going to, and I love everybody that says, like, dude, you need to be in the Hall of Fame. You should be in the Hall of Fame. You're the pioneer. You're this and that. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough, but I always had, how can you not? I always feel like, just when I lost that belt, I always just felt like, like I said, the best way I said it, it sucked. I did everything right. And I still didn't, I lost my belt. And I just never thought this would happen. But now that getting this Hall of Fame induction for me is, it's over. My career, I never thought it would happen. And I'm so glad, I'm so happy that it is, because I wanted to finish my journey. And now I can finally climb off the mountains of Mordor and I can go home to the Shire. I'm stuck on that. We were talking about it in the stream, and I can now go back to the Shire. And so it's funny, because getting this Hall of Fame induction, it's like, I want to go backwards so bad. I want to go back to my roots, where I came from, where I started. And it's like, I can finally finish my career. I can finally finish it. And I get to finish it on a note like this, and be in what to me might be the best Hall of Fame class I've ever witnessed, and with Jose Aldo and Silva and Cerrone, and, I'm sorry, with Silva and with, I wanted to get to Bobby Lawler and Rory getting in there as well. So it's
the most badass class of Hall of Famers.
It's pretty crazy. So it goes back to this whole thing, just kind of, I just keep going backwards to where I started. And I was like, man, I can finally stop. I can finally, it's a lot. It's the coolest thing in the world. I'm so happy that I got the nod, now.
Sorry to keep hitting it, but no one more deserving. And I think, I think you've proved that, and just how it impacts you, because that's the other thing too. Some people, I think, don't really understand where the sport has gone and what it required just to get into it and dedicate your life to it. And, you're of a generation where there's a lot of guys, Jens, that don't have anything to show for it. And, the fact that you're still very much involved, with the UFC stream and, ushering in a new generation of fight fans and teaching them, you know, what the old generation was like and the modern fights and giving your take on it. You deserve the accolades and that honor of being in that Hall of Fame. And like I said, just no one more deserving than Jens Pulver. And I'm really happy. I'll be in town to see it happen. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah,
I was tickled pink.
It
That's
was,
all I can tell you.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was,
so many people deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Not everybody can be in the Hall of Fame, but you are in the Hall of Fame, and I think it's great.
thank you. I appreciate
no
it.
question.
It's now I'm working on the speech, you know, and all that. So it's gonna be
Just be yourself, Jens. Just let it fly and be yourself.
Yeah, you know it. I will.
Do you get to pick someone to like induct you? How does that work?
Yeah, my manager. Well, my manager, Brian Butler. Like I said, you know, Monty was my manager when I was fighting, and then obviously when I stopped fighting, hey, it was great. I appreciate the, you know, I thank you. It's been a great career. And so then I called Butler. I'm like, Butler, man. And then so he's been my manager ever since. And I love Brian. So that's 100%. He's going to be the one doing the speech to, So we'll see how that works.
You know what?
He won't be too mean.
It's not gonna be like the Oscars where, you know, they're gonna give you the cutoff point. You're gonna have all the time in the world, I would suspect, to say what you want to say. This is your moment. Grab your moment. It's a once in a lifetime moment. So give them a once in a lifetime speech, but just relax. Don't think you got to memorize everything. It's gonna flow when you get up there. Okay.
Well, I'm more worried about the tears, Buff. I'm more worried about
let the tears flow. Come on. What's the mark of a man? I mean, in my opinion, if you can't cry and let tears flow, then you got emotional issues.
Yeah.
You know? Let it flow. Let it flow.
The big thing. It'll be, and then this will be the first time I've ever written the speech down for the most part. So I can, because I know I'm going to be flying off to the right and left, and stay focused and try to get back to the,
it's okay,
to the theme of the thing. But I have no clue what's going to happen with this one.
Hey, when I got my Lifetime Achievement Award, I didn't even know I was going to get it. And I had to get up there and say something. And, you know, tears, they flew. Thank my mom. I said, hey, Mom, you know, top of the world, you know, that kind of thing at the end. So just be yourself. Just, I've said it too many times already. Just you'll be fine. Don't put pressure on yourself.
And that's the thing too about fighting is like, yes, it's a sport, but combat sports are just so much more emotional than people think about. Like, I mean, it's that old saying, like you don't play fighting. You play a game of hockey. You play a baseball game. You don't play a fight.
You can't play a fight. And speaking of fighters who've been playing, let's go over a couple stories, Jen. Do you want to go over some news stuff with us?
I'm in. Let's find out.
I'm sorry to say, Tony Ferguson got arrested for a DUI after he flipped over his truck. Did you see that?
I've heard of these things. So see, when I run the Twitch UFC, the Twitch stream for the UFC. And so like, hey, these certain topics may pop up. You need to try not to focus too much on them, stay on the fights. And I'm like, all right. So I just kind of, you know what I mean? I'm shielding it as Chad is going nuts about, hey, my man is, he just, he got arrested. I'm like, well, okay, what? You know, it's like, I'm going to have to, I don't know enough about it or anything, but I did hear about it. If one of you know more, by all means.
Okay. Well, you know, that's his situation, but, you know, thank God again, he didn't get hurt. And Jorge Masvidal's dad, what was it, the other week, got arrested for attempted murder after shooting. You didn't hear about this?
No. What? I'm like Jens. I just pay attention to fights.
Yep.
Jorge Masvidal's dad, right, was arrested for attempted murder. He shot a man in the arms, his arms, during a dispute at Jorge's Miami area home on a Thursday. So he is booked at 1:33. He's a 67-year-old man. He opened fire on the man in the kitchen, near the kitchen of Jorge's home. And that's it. Nothing else has come out of it. Right.
All right. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yep. I mean, coming from all sides, right?
All right. Okay. I'm just
not much you can comment on.
I would like to know more about that story.
That's a problem though, right? Like we get these stories out and they come out in like one paragraph and it's like, how do you feel about it? It's like, I don't know anything about it. It's one paragraph. I don't know what to say. Like, did the guy have a gun in his hand and he was threatening and that's why he shot him? Like, I don't know.
Well, on a positive note, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, he's
huge BJJ fan.
Pardon me?
Huge BJJ fan.
Not just huge BJJ fan. He just kicked butt in a jiu-jitsu tournament. He won the gold and the silver medals.
Yeah, look at that.
You know,
What?
How do you win the training? Wait, okay, multiple divisions. How do you win the gold and silver medals?
It was a local jiu-jitsu tournament, whatever that means.
Right. Multiple divisions. I thought he won the gold and then took the silver medalist medal too. It's like, that's mine.
It must be in 2 different areas of competition.
Yeah, it is.
Whatever it is. But you know what? Kudos to him. He started training. He's got a green belt with yellow sashes, it looks like. He started training during COVID, and just even told me too when I saw him at the UFC that he's really in love with the sport, and he was just going crazy over it. So goes to show you, never can be too old to get in there and start training some jits, much less even compete. I mean, look at who's the Hardy?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Look at him. He's competing in tournaments, and he's doing great too.
How many people came through the old Militich gym, though, Jens, back in the day, thinking that, you know, they were tough guys and they were going to do this ultimate fighting thing, and then they last like a class and a half, or maybe only even a half a class, and, you know, they're, I got to get something from my car, and then you just hear the tires screech as they pull out the parking lot.
It's not. No, I think it's still the same. It might be worse now. Everybody
really
just thinks, well, everybody, it's like you tell anybody, like, I want to be a fighter. I want to be able to say, okay. You know, and then it's getting them to show up. It's the commitment. That's all. Like, how do you do it? What do you mean? How do I do it? I show up every day. It wasn't like there was somebody gave me a special key card and said, here, you get to do this. You get to become a fighter. It's, I want to do this. And so you just, like in anything, you go out there and you give it 100%. You train every day. And you know what I mean? And it's obviously it's time and effort. And I think that's so, but a lot of people, I think it's anything. You just find out it's just not something you want to do. I think what I've found throughout the years is the conditioning side of it is what everybody, you know what I mean? What most people obviously what would it be from being like a casual, someone who casually trains, to someone who has taken it to the top level? The amount of time they train every day, the 10 hours they put in compared to the hour they put in, right?
Yeah. It's one thing from being like a guy who does a 5K to a guy who does a marathon. Yeah.
Well, that's it. So it's like anybody can do this. It's just time. But I think that was the one thing you'd find back in the day was, you know, it's just that people would show up and you would just find out really fast. I don't think I'm as dedicated. I'm not as dedicated as they are. So I must not be at that level. You know what I mean? But again, it's just you find the time that you have. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, you talk about Zuckerberg. That's pretty cool, you know, to dominate in the world like that and to be able to come in. You know, I always look at CM Punk's another one. I love him he was such an icon in his sport to come over and, you know, right into the UFC and sit there and learn how to try to crash. He took like a crash course through it all, but I love and appreciate him for doing that. You know, I mean, you got to respect that. But I think that's like anybody. They think like it's some massive thing to become a quote unquote fighter and be the best in the world when it's like in anything. It's time, repetition. You got to do the mundane, do the boring, do the things that people don't want to do, but that's in anything, right? And they just find out, I think a lot of people find out there's no difference in this one. It's not going to be, you know, you just get to show up. I'm here to fight. And you just go out and start dropping people. It's not street fighting.
Oh, I just appreciate that a billionaire is going to go out there and take his lumps. You know what I mean? Because there's some humility there. You got to prepare to be the low man on the totem pole. You might be the hammer in the business world, but you get on the mat the first time, you're going to be the nail for a while.
Now, the only thing you do get to do is you get to probably being the billionaire, you get to bring in the best instructors in the world.
That's right.
And you can have a lot of personal time. There's a lot of one-on-one time. You know what I'm saying? So you do have that benefit going, you know, but you deserve it. So that's something I'd be doing. But that's just like getting a crash course in anything, you know, just a lot of personal time with the best in the biz. If you can afford it, then of course do it.
Sounds right. I mean, that's the name of the game. I can tell you. A couple other quick stories here as we get past that. Johnny Depp, you know, with his trial and everything, and Pirates of the Caribbean not doing that movie for $20+ million payday. He's not crying. He's not crying, not going to the bank. He's walking to the bank. He just got a $20 million deal with Dior.
Wow.
Right. After all that, because obviously his image is still really popular. People are praising him all around. So it goes to show you, I guess maybe all publicity is good publicity. Just spell my name correctly to a certain extent. to a certain extent. And then on the other celebrity side of the coin, Jamie Foxx is in rehab. He's out of the hospital. You heard about that, right, Jens?
No.
Jamie
Yeah.
Foxx, the actor, from all news that comes forth, looks like he might have had, and again, it's not been specifically said, possibly suffered something along the lines of a serious stroke.
What?
Potential.
Oh.
He was in the hospital for like 2 weeks, and he had 8 days left on a film he was filming. They had to pull him off the set, and I think they're using a lookalike or a fill-in, whatever the term is called. But he's finally out of the hospital and he's back in rehab. So I'm just wishing him all the best, and condolences going out to his family, and hope everything goes. This is one of the best actors of our generation. This is an actor that started on Living Color, won an Academy Award, and went on to do multiple fine films.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
not
a
just about his acting
powerhouse.
ability. As a human being, I wish him the best.
Phenomenal singer as well. Like, he's talented in all areas. Yeah, performing.
Everything, and at the height of his career. So let's hope he gets 100% fully recovered, and that would be great to see. McDonald, you ever hear about these lawsuits that people get, like fast food companies? McDonald was found liable after a child, and this is in Florida. Florida seems to be a real happening state for things. Liable after burns from hot chicken nuggets.
Okay.
From a Happy Meal.
Yeah. I mean, there's that old one with the lady in the hot coffee one that everyone seems to think is ridiculous. But if you actually look into that lawsuit, like she received pretty bad, like 2nd and 3rd degree burns on her legs.
Yeah, that was back in the 90s where she spilled coffee on her lap. She got
but it was
burns.
Yeah, it was really bad. A lot of people think it was like a frivolous lawsuit, but like there was a malfunction with the coffee pot. I don't know. Bottom line is, like, you don't want people to sue for just being irresponsible. Like, if they're like, I mean, hot food's going to be hot, but I mean, what are we talking here, Buffer? Like with these nuggets, like what happened? Was there like personal damage, or did someone just burn their tongue and now they're asking for $1 billion?
Well, that lady got $3 million, TJ.
Which one?
The lady you're talking about, back in the 90s, she got $3 million.
Yeah, well, that's what she won. She ended up walking away with like something like $200,000, though. Is like after attorney fees and all that stuff. It was not. I watched a documentary about it. It's on Hulu.
There was a documentary on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. But these chicken nuggets. Now, hold on.
Yeah.
How hot were these chicken nuggets? How hot were
basically the lawsuit inside of the Happy Meal were unreasonably and dangerously hot in terms of temperature.
What does that mean?
That's to be determined, but it caused the skin and the flesh around her thighs to burn.
What were the chicken nuggets doing on her thighs?
Leaving her, she spilled them, obviously, leaving her disfigured and scarred. So there you go.
Were they molten?
Pardon me?
Were they molten? Like, how does that work?
I don't know. I have no idea.
That's crazy. So you spilt your chicken nuggets and it landed on your lap and it burned and scarred to a level that you're going, that's
okay. That's the McDonald's one. Okay.
Oh,
there's others.
Now let's talk about Arby's. You hear about Arby's?
No.
At Arby's, a restaurant in Arby's restaurant in Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
They found a body. I
heard about this. I heard about this. Yeah.
They found the body of a lifeless body of a female employee in the restaurant's freezer.
Yeah, they got locked in the freezer, it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like she got locked in the freezer. Does not seem to be a homicide, an accident. She actually got locked in the freezer. Can you imagine that?
I'm not laughing at the body.
Right. No,
I'm laughing
not
at the
funny.
situation.
Right.
Because I've walked into those coolers before, right? Everybody's worked at the restaurant and stuff and go in the back. And she got locked in it, and then you were the only one there.
Yeah.
And it got shut. But they usually have like a push, like a button to out so you can
Yeah.
get out, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did you what?
This
Like,
reminds me.
and now I guess when I'm not laughing as in ha, but could you imagine the next day when you go popping into work and you pull that freezer open, you know, I mean, like,
Right.
whoa, that's what I'm laughing at. Like, I'm laughing because that would be mortifying. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm like, no.
I'll
give you a story that's even more mortifying that happened a week or so ago.
No more mortifying.
I'm in.
This one's mortifying.
Go,
This
bro.
one is
I want-
mortifying.
Can I add a story of levity first, Buffer? My goodness.
Nope, give it.
Maybe
I'm
I
in.
shouldn't go into this.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
listening.
Hey, real quick, Jens, we've been doing this podcast since like 2008, and I tell Bruce every single show, please keep the like morbid, bad, sad stories to a minimum. But if you're going to do it, at least do it in the middle of the show. Don't end the show on it.
Yeah, we're towards the end. Okay, I think I'll leave this alone.
All right, so let me add a story of levity. Jens will appreciate this.
Here's a story of levity.
My old boss, Jeff Sherwood, he owned and operated and created the website SureDog.com. Went up to Rockford, Illinois for an extreme challenge back in the day. This was like December 2005. Didn't know what the weather was like. Lived in Southern California, so he was like, whatever. Shows up in Illinois in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and gets locked out of his hotel with chicken nuggets, believe it or not, from McDonald's. And it's 20 below zero with the wind chill. And, this is something that happens to California people that go to the Midwest and they don't look at the weather. They just show up in shorts and think everything's going to be fine. Thankfully, he got let back into the hotel. It was one of those, side doors. So he just had to go out to the front lobby. But his chicken nuggets were ruined.
And he was in Rockford, Illinois, walking around like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
in December.
Would have been in the safe side of Rockford, man.
I guess.
Hey, that's crazy. That's my wife. Yeah, they're from Rockford.
Hey, TJ, a Minnesota man. Years ago, back in 2000, I think it was 2005. Right. The Wizard of Oz, the Ruby Slippers, the Dorothy.
Yeah,
Ward.
Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Grand
Rapids, Minnesota. They smashed a glass display case, stealing the slippers.
Yep.
And investigators said they had no evidence aside from a single sequin.
Mm-hmm.
But a breakthrough came in the case like 13 years later when they recovered the slippers during an undercover operation in Minneapolis, and no suspects were taken into custody. But they've arrested and indicted the man over the theft of the slippers years later.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, you steal something like that, much as anybody else. Steal a pair of shoes under my bed, you got to pay the price. These slippers sold for $666,000 in year 2000.
Yeah.
And then they were insured for $1 million. The current value is, what do you think?
I'll say $150. 150K.
No, I just told you they sold for $666,000.
Oh, okay. 1.5. 1.5.
3.5 million.
Okay, I thought you said they sold for 60,000.
No. It's okay, but 3.5 million. That's such an iconic collectible when you think about it.
Yeah.
What would you do with them if you took them? Like, why would you steal them?
You can't sell them. It's like you wonder when you steal like these famous paintings. What do you do with them?
They're gonna sit up there on this shit. What are you gotta hide them the whole time. Right. They gotta be hidden. Do you ever just break out and go, hey, you gotta see these slippers?
I don't know. There's some...
keep a secret. They're what? You can't ever do anything about this. That's crazy.
Hey, where are your belts, Jens? Do you got your belts on display at home?
Yeah, you got on your set. You got there?
I have one that sits with me because when people want to see on the stream, that's awesome. They're always like, boom. But see, this is the one, and we did talk to we asked The Rock. I remember the UFC streams asked Rock, "Do you remember this?" And he says, "Yep, I remember the day I absolutely signed it."
Wow, that's awesome.
Laid the smack down on all their candy asses. The Rock, I had him sign it a long time ago.
Does it say lightweight champion on one of the plates?
It says lightweight champion on both sides of the plates. And then my brother has one. And one is, ironically, the one belt made it in the Hall of Fame before I did. But now hopefully I get to be lined back up with it. Is
that the one with the guy with the fist on it?
Yep. That was the original where it says bantamweight.
Right, bantamweight, yeah.
So I was the bantamweight champ at one point and then switched to the lightweight champ.
We talk about collectibles. Those belts are worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, especially this way. It's signed by The Rock.
Yeah, well,
I love that. But he remembers it. We were at a Gold's Gym
The Rock,
in
Iowa.
Rock
is a very cool guy.
I love him. Love him. And that's why just the way that he grew up and his culture is like, I would love for you to sign this belt, man. I go, you're my hero. And this was a long time ago. I just loved just the way that he grew up, and stuff. It's like, man, I got to have you sign this belt. I seen him and I was like, this is all I had on me. I was like, hey, sign this.
Now you only get one belt as a UFC champion. They don't give you a new one every time you defend.
Diamonds or whatever.
Rubies or You try to get a ruby.
And then I got my desktop belt, so you get that. Nice. And you get like the diamonds that go.
Oh, that's really cool.
Something like that. Yeah, my desktop though, you got to have that.
That's really cool. I'd like to have one of those.
I know, right? I got lucky, man. It's my boss. they sent it to me. So I was like, all right, yeah, because all the time, because I've got to do all these giveaways and stuff, right? And I'm like, you're giving away these desktop belts? And I was like, man, I'd love to have one of these. And then it showed up in the mail. I was like, yes.
We're showing off belts. I'm never going to win one, but Jeremy Horn won one, and he gave it to me. This is like my prized possession, UCC belt that Jeremy Horn won back in like 2002.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so now we're going to sign off here soon. Tell us, Jens, what's going on now? What would you like to tell us about before we sign off? Anything special you want to mention?
Well, the biggest thing is just kind of, again, like Twitch TV/UFC. We'll be back on Friday watching Fights of Fighters Fighting and Saturday's fights. Saturday, we'll do the watch along. So I'll be doing, that's kind of where I get to sit and commentate and just break down the fights. And if we do a pay-per-view, we have guests that'll come on board. And so we'll sit around and just do the watch alongs on the pay-per-view. But we're here Monday. We got Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, we start Tough Tuesday. We're finishing up season 14. Monday, like I said, we recap. We interviewed Brian Battle. And then if it's a pay-per-view, we'll be on Wednesday, but pretty much Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Anybody can come in and check us out, hang out there. And other than that, I've got sumo coming up tonight. So I'll be live on the Twitch TV/Jens Pulver watching sumo. I don't miss it. Y'all watch sumo
wrestling? No, it's fascinating.
Oh, it's the boss show. Man, Buff, you can't. All right, look. It's 15 days, right? They compete once a day for 15 days. Wow. Best record wins. And my man Teruno Fuji is back. He's healthy. That's my guy. He's been my guy for 3 years. So he's all four. He's got 4 wins right now. So he's 4-0. It's gonna be a tight race, but I love it. If you haven't never checked it out, you got to check out the boss shows over there. Sumo. It is something. I want to go to Japan just so all the time in Japan. I never went to an event. So I'd like to be able to go back and get an event, but so that's what we're doing today. We'll be on watching sumo.
That's amazing. Wow. No, very cool. Very cool, Jens. That's awesome. I like that a lot. Very, very cool. TJ, before you come on, medicaleverything.com, our sponsor for the show. They have an interesting article now on tips on how to stop being such a people pleaser and learn to say no. Something I suffer from myself once in a while. So interesting articles. Everybody check it out at medicaleverything.com. Which is a sponsor of It's Time Radio. And TJ, what is up with you?
Follow me online, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff at TJ DeSantis. You can check out Extra Rounds. It's available on UFC Fight Pass, the Facebook page, as well as YouTube. And before we go, happy 24th birthday to Bruce Buffer, coming up here on the 21st of May. Jens actually called it out before we even got on the air.
Yes. The story. Hold on. I got to tell this. So this is how I knew it was your birthday coming up, because there's a clip on at UFC Streams on Twitter, which, by the way, you can follow on Twitter at UFC Streams on Twitter. And they made this compilation of every time, Buff, I shit you not, every time because we're just watching fights of fighters fighting. So I'm always watching fights. I'm just breaking down the fights, and then we'll we'll have a matchup. We'll watch a fight of each fighter who will be fighting on that Saturday. And I'm like, and it's just this compilation. We going, look at that jacket. Look at that jacket. And there was one, I'm like, come on, man. Look at that jacket. God, Bopper in his jackets. It's you and your jackets. I cannot. Man, you're a savage. I'm telling you what, man, then there's this one, you're in this white jacket. And I was like, oh my Lord, look at this classy son of a bitch. He looks like 007 coming out there. I was going ham. So they made this big compilation. If you look on Twitter at UFC Streams, I think that's how, you might be able to Google. I think you can Google Jens Pulver reacts to Buffer's jackets, and you'll find this thing. Right, AK? You might be able to, I think you can see it that way.
Hey, Jens, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Shoot it over to TJ, and he'll send it to me.
Yeah, I'll find it. Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah, find it. Shoot it over to TJ.
Smooth. Sean found it, so I got to. I'll get it. I'll shoot it over. But it is me just going. Yeah, you and them damn jackets. Well, I love them. I love them.
Yeah, it's amazing how these things pop up. Yeah, they call me a fashion icon. If they only knew what I dressed like during the day, here it is.
Right.
Yeah. Man for all seasons, man for all reasons. So there you go.
Hey, Jens, real quick. What do you think of my shoes? I married a Hawkeye. What do you think of my shoes?
I like it. I like it. There you go. See, I'm finally wearing the hat 100%. I got my new big game hats coming in, so I'll be set up. I got new ones, but yeah, I have to roll the Hawkeye. Nice. That's a hell of a pair of shoes right there. I like that.
Thank you.
All right, TJ, what's up?
No, I just said follow me on Twitter at TJ DeSantis. That's it. That's all you need to know. What's up with you, Buff? What's up with you?
That's it. Oh my gosh. All right, everybody, listen, I want to make a little announcement here, but those of you that live in Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, Illinois, and Wisconsin, the Myers supermarkets now are the big distributor of Puncher's Chance.
Oh,
it's
nice.
in over 225 stores in all those states. So enjoy it. Go out and get it. Enjoy watching the UFC as you toast the fighters, putting their blood, sweat, and tears on the octagon floor. Nothing better than do a Puncher's Chance toast to everybody taking a Puncher's Chance with Jens. If anybody knows what a Puncher's Chance is, you do.
You know it.
You do. I remember that famous one-time knockout. Remember that? It came
Little
out.
Eagle is soared backstage. Landed backstage at Little Eagle. Little Evil.
Little Eagle flies again.
Yeah, Little Eagle flies
again. Yeah,
he soared
for sure.
backstage. He soared backstage with our own James Wormy. Remember James
man.
Wormy?
Oh, God.
There you go.
So far.
I just sent it to you, TJ's the clip. So.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Jens, we could have you on for a long time to talk about all this stuff from
Anytime,
the past. My gosh, we
anytime.
should have you on again soon. I just want to thank everybody, too. It's Time Cologne is still the #1 selling cologne on Amazon in the United States and #5 in the UK. Be in your stores and everything coming soon. So there's my shilling part of the show. Otherwise, time to have a birthday weekend, celebrate life, which I plan to do. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your best wishes. And to everybody out there listening, we love you all. Continue. We'll be back next week with another guest. Maybe not as exciting as Mr. Pulver, but we'll be back with another guest. All right, everybody, set your goals, write them down. Make sure you're fully knowledgeable about everything you want to do. So when you set on that yellow brick path road to the future of your life, you perform at the best you can be. Because if you're performing at the best you can be, then you're winning. And that's what we're all about on It's Time Radio. Winning, be happy, and be a role model to your sphere of influence. That's all I ask. Enjoy, everybody. Have a great week, a great weekend. See you next week. Buffer out.
That is the greatest jacket I have ever seen in my life. I want that jacket, that bow tie. That is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Oh, that jacket, though. That jacket, though. Look at that jacket. Ooh, that jacket, though. Look at that jacket. Look at that jacket. Look at that jacket. Dang, man. Look at that jacket. That jacket right there. That jacket. Look at that jacket. It's like this urban. Look at this jacket. Dang. Look at that jacket. Get out of here. Ooh, look at that jacket. Shit, look at that jacket. I like that jacket. The jacket's making me dizzy. I can't focus. Look at that jacket. Damn, Bruce. God dang it. Come on. It's like it's straight out of a movie. I mean, this is just bullshit. This is bullshit. All right. I said I've liked every other jacket, but this is it. Come on, man. That's it.